This show happens because of Cornerstone. If you've got a whole lot of process-driven tasks that you're just not getting done, or you're doing them yourself, then think about getting a virtual assistant through Cornerstone. Book a discovery call with owner David Warren now on 02 9083 6689. Now, you guys know how much I love seeing business owners challenge the way business gets done in their industry. Well, today's guest has taken on how physiotherapists charge and is reaping the rewards big time.
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show where successful small business owners share their souls to take on marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
And welcome back to another episode of the Small Business Big Marketing Show, Australia's #1 marketing podcast. I'm your host, Timbo Reid. You, infinitely more importantly, you're a motivated business owner, just in case you didn't know, and you are ready to crank out some really good marketing. I mean, brilliant marketing to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it deserves to be. It's exactly what we do around here. That's what we've been doing for 350 episodes, which is what today's episode number is, in case you were wondering. Thanks for joining us again. If it's your first time around, welcome. We welcome you with open arms. Big show today. Brad Beer, a physiotherapist who successfully implemented a pricing model that's shaking up the way the whole industry of physiotherapy is charging. Plus, he's got some really solid views on marketing. I share another low-cost marketing idea in What Have You Got to Lose? Today's idea is all about putting on a VIP event. I share a sneak preview of a chat I had with partnership guru Glenn Carlson, who details the 9 steps he used to build a multi-million-dollar business by creating smart strategic partnerships. And we go back into the vault, the Small Business Big Marketing Vault, that is, revisiting a hugely popular episode from a few years ago with email marketing specialist Shane Tilley. Whew. As per usual, team, marketing GOLD dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in. This week saw the launch of an exclusive webinar series for members of the Small Business Big Marketing Club, of which I hope you are one. If you're not, it's not too late to join. I'll explain how later. Glenn Carlson, the founder of the Key Person of Influence program, joined us to explain the 9 steps he uses to create highly profitable partnerships. Here he is talking about the all-important first step.
Step 1 is, what are you trying to get done, right? What is the thing that if you were to achieve that thing would create a transformational order of magnitude? And by the way, this event took us from 0 to over $1 million in revenue in our first year, $1 million in profit in 2.5 years or so, just leveraging the strategy. But this was the starting point, and I want to unpack it to prove you don't need stuff to start with, because people now look at what we're doing and they go, oh, it's good for you because you've got the podcast and the brand and the events and the this and the that and the everything and the global business and whatever. Didn't have that at the start. Started with zilch, right? And so in 6 years, we've built a 20 million plus global small business where, 85% of all of our revenue and major opportunities and the breakthroughs have come through this strategy. So I'm all in on it, is what I'm saying. Step 1, what are you trying to get done? What is that big thing that would create the order of magnitude, the 10x breakthrough? And the reason that I like 10x thinking is not only does it sound very cool and like it's something that's come out of Silicon Valley, which is very edgy right now, but it's often easier to pull off something big and exciting than something small and mediocre, because no one wants to support or engage or get involved with something small and mediocre. It's like if you're looking to recruit a team member and you're like, oh yeah, I kind of run this dinky little small thing and it's nothing much and da-da-da. No one wants to support you or work with you or come and join that team at a discount. As opposed to people do want to work with a company, even if it's a small budding company with a great vision and a great leader that's, communicating that vision, etc. So, playing 10x often just makes everything a lot easier. So
and there's, that the wonderful quote, shoot for the stars and land on the moon. So if you're running for 10x and you get 5x.
Yeah. I've recently come across some thinking where I've changed my thinking around shoot for the stars and you'll hit the moon.
Oh, controversial. Glenn goes on to explain why he no longer agrees with that saying, plus he shares his other 8 tried and tested steps in creating profitable partnerships. And I've got to tell you, it was 60 minutes of absolute marketing gold. And you can listen to the whole lot as often as you like by joining the Small Business Big Marketing Club over at crankmymarketing.com. It's just $67 a month. And if you can't make that back plus multiples more each month, then I am doing something wrong. Coming up after this interview, I share another low-cost marketing idea in that wonderful segment that I know you all love, called What Have You Got to Lose? But first, let's meet Pogo Physio's Brad Beer, who is challenging the way business gets done in his industry, particularly the way physiotherapy services are priced. Now, I've got to tell you, it doesn't matter if you're not a physiotherapist. This is a wonderful chat around pricing what it is you sell. A little bit about Brad. He's delivered in excess of 25,000 physiotherapy consultations. He's got an Amazon best-selling book called You Can Run Pain-Free. He's a media commentator on all things running. He hosts the Physical Performance podcast. Got to love that, fellow podcaster. Champion triathlete and marathon runner is Brad. He lives, I like this, in his bio he says he lives at the intersection of maximising potential and physical performance. We've spoken about finding your intersection on past shows, and it's a powerful thing to do, and I like where Brad's intersection is at. He's also a physio to the stars, having treated the likes of Pink Floyd's Roger Waters. Hello. Bit of comfortably numb. It's probably how you feel after a session with Brad. So listen in as we go deep on a clever new way of pricing services that Brad calls the Finish Line program, why the third iteration of his business is finally the right one. It's good, kind of reassuring to know that, you don't always get it right the first time. He's got to keep plugging away. And Brad's got a deep, deep respect for marketing. And he talks a lot about how he gets his name in front of his ideal clients. As usual, I kick things off in a very serious manner. I want to talk names with you. 2 names. First of all, Brad Beer. Well done on that surname.
I didn't get any choice in that, Timbo, but it had its bonuses and it had its detractions. Particularly through high school. I think I had 4X, 2Es. The whole lot. My sister had a tougher time.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, one of the great headlines in marketing is free beer. So so many gags, so little time. What about Pogo Physio? Are you really happy with that, and where'd it come from?
Yeah, Tim, great question. We are happy with it and the origins of it, and we often get asked about it. Tim, we came out of I've had 11 years in physiotherapy practice ownership, so 11 years in business. In that time, we've had 3 life cycles, if you like, Tim. This is our current iteration, and we don't plan on making any more changes. Yeah. The middle years were spent in a franchise environment, and obviously, those environments can be quite regulated in the approach and the feel and, the culture. You don't get to choose that sort of stuff. So after that era closed or ended, we came into this, this third iteration. And at that stage, Tim, we engaged a local branding agency and we wanted to build it from the ground up with some, intention.
Interesting.
And so, we decided to make an investment into that process, and we sat around. There was some creatives in the room. There was myself, and I always like short names, Timbo, and for some reason I like the roundness of the O and the fact that it sort of rolled off the tongue with physio. And so we're brainstorming short 4-letter words that couldn't be abbreviated over time. And, we're like Togo, Mojo, all these different things that just fly off. I remember thinking, Timbo, Pogo, I remember thinking, that's just ridiculous. I'm not even going to say it. And at that point, I thought, that's when I need to say it. And I said it. And I saw the creatives literally just light up. And they're all like, that's it. I'm like, really? You can't call a practice Pogo. And so, there was no acronym behind it. It was short. It was fun. And people can really, and I guess it's how we tell our story as to what we do, is what determines people's perception of it. But it sticks, and that's, I guess, all important.
Yeah, it does stick. It is short. And I was wondering, well, that's really interesting. Interesting that you, as a small business owner, albeit in your third iteration, employed a branding agency. Never a cheap exercise. Was it a successful exercise, given that you came up with the name?
Yeah, I didn't think of that. I believe it was, Tim. They did some research through our clients, and at that stage we had a very, strong, healthy local business with, a sizable database. So they did some research there. And I guess the reason why we would put aside the substantial sum that it was to go through the process was I'd always had a big vision for our industry. I'd always been bothered by some of the frustrations with, the limitations of the physiotherapy private sector. So I guess I knew deep down at a heart level that, we wanted this to be visible beyond a local level at some point in the business ownership, journey. And so I kind of had a sense that let's make it right the first time rather than do a clip art job and iterate it as we go.
Interesting. Do you mind if I asked what that ended up costing you?
Yeah, Tim, it was $10,000 investment. So
what
at
did
that
get
stage, yeah, what did it get us? It got us the look and the feel. So the brand's, I guess, the style guide, if you like, which it doesn't get you the whole kit and caboodle where it's a turnkey solution. You've got everything at your fingertips. You still have to obviously go and do further jobs. But it gave us that strong start. It gave us, they did a bit of culture work as well. And out of that, Tim, we came up with our still to this day, 3 years into this iteration, core values, have daily fun, excellence and delivering. Our customer is our hero. So it really helped us streamline our thinking around what's important to us. So I believe we got great value.
It's interesting because there'd be plenty of people listening who are hearing not a lot of physical outputs from your $10,000 spend, but it sounds like what that process did was kind of articulate your thinking around what the brand stands for, your values, the story around it. Would that be fair to say? And you got a style guide.
Exactly. And I guess now we're at a point where, this year we start, scaling up, if you like, our approach to the industry through some licensing. And so I look back now and I think, that was a solid investment at the time. That's never easy, but it's like it gave us something that strong foundations to build from. And, our current graphic designer who he just pulls directly out of the style guide. And in fact, he was one of the guys that inputted into it at the previous business. He's now out freelancing. So it's been a great continuity on that sense as well.
Yeah, good on you, Brad, because I funnily enough, even just this morning, I did a coaching session with someone who's starting a business. And whilst she was very keen to cut to the chase of what is the offer that she's going to create and sort of get to the pointy end, pulling back and actually having a look at what the brand or the business stands for and how to turn it into a brand and what are the emotional qualities of that brand that are really going to hook people into paying attention. It's work that is not highly valued, but highly important.
Yeah, good distinction, isn't it? It's everything. It is. Every contact that a prospective client or a client has, it's all branding. And I know you've got a great penchant for this. I just love when you go somewhere and they're intangibles. You can't put your finger on it. Be like, it's presented well. It's beautiful design. It's the service is there. You're like, that was an experience. And that's always been important to me, Timber.
Well, I just think you look at all you have to do is go and look at some of the bigger brands. And I've said this before. I'll say it again. There's a lot of stuff that the top end of town I think gets wrong in their marketing, but there's a lot of stuff they get right. And one of the things they get right is that respect of the brand, the discipline to make sure that brand presents itself consistently across all touch points, and that over time prospects and customers develop a real familiarity and comfort with it because that brand is consistent and doesn't change drastically at any one point.
Yep.
Love it, mate. Hey, physios, geez, mate, they do annoy me. You with me?
Timbo, I'm with you. Tell me why. Tell me why. Tell me why.
It is a digression, and I do want to get into what makes you different. So it is a bit of a segue, but come on, Beersy. You don't mind if I call you Beersy, do you? Because look, here's the thing, and I will take 51% of the blame for what I'm about to say, right?
Yep. Just give it to me square up, Tim.
You and all other physios take the other 49. I go, I get a quick little treatment, and I'm gonna reference breaking my arm in a cycling accident 2 years ago. Quick treatment, little bit of a rub down. Oh, that felt good. Go home and do these exercises, and we'll see you next week. Now, I'm not a big one for the exercise.
Yep.
Now I know I should be. That's why I'm taking most of the blame. Right.
No, well, yeah, it's interesting dynamic. Yep. So carry on. This is great market research.
There you go. Sorry, listeners, we're just doing market research now, but I think this is valuable because I know a little bird tells me that you also share similar thoughts to me.
Yep.
But I just get left feeling, okay, well, I'm going to roll up next week and the week after and guess what? I stopped going.
Surprise.
Yeah.
Did you feel like this was kind of like a never ending, let's just see how you go, rock up next week? Is that where you're at?
Mate, I saw no finish line.
Oh.
Hey, you like that?
I do, Tim, I do. Oh, Tim, look, your experience, thanks for sharing that. And, I recall you'd fall off a bike and, it wasn't across the details of the injury, but your experience, as much as I'd like to tell you is unique, sadly I know is not the case. And, really I sort of talk about I've been in the industry for 10 years and banged my head against a brick wall to kind of get some revelation about how it could be potentially done differently. And, you mentioned those two words there, the finish line, 3 words. And really that, obviously it's a bit of a play on words, but that is what we're about. We are, as a practice, about presenting a model of care that's first time in our industry, Tim. It's unique, it's pioneering, it's been challenging for a whole lot of reasons to get up and get running, and we're there now. And really what we're trying to do is to make sure that anyone that walks through our doors doesn't get that experience that you described. Feels like it's never ending. You get a bit of exercise you got to go do, and there's never really any result achieved. And all that's achieved is, I talk about 3 brand damages. It's damage to the brand of the practitioner that looked after you, because you never really would walk out and rave about the experience. It's damage to the physiotherapy brand, because next time you go try a different allied health service, Tim, and it's damage to that practice. You're not going to walk out and favourably talk about that experience. So, we wanted to make sure that our clients weren't encountering some of the same frustrations you've just shared.
And in walks the finish line program, which we're about to talk about. Before we do that, and clearly that's what sets you apart, right? That's it's Pogo's thing, which I think is fascinating, because in a very crowded marketplace, like, let's face it, no shortage of physios, one on every street corner almost, right? You seem to have landed on something that has set you apart. Why though? Why does what I describe be so ubiquitous amongst everyone a lot of people who go to physios?
Yeah, look, I've got my opinions, obviously.
Share it, mate. Go on. Piss the industry off.
I mean, that's not my aim. My aim is more obviously, but my aim's on the clients. I'm on the client side. I just want them to get what our industry can offer them. And I took time out, a year and a half ago, not just in the metaphorical sense of looking at going, what's missing here? The session to session approach to service provision, in our case, the physio industry, that's all the industry's ever known, Tim. And the major flaws I see in it are physiotherapy, like any professional service, is not a cheap service. So, you come, you get your session, you pay at the front, you come back next time. And in good faith, you might continue that process until potentially you get the result that you're after. Potentially you don't. And if you don't, you do what you did, Tim, you just drop out. We actually tracked it, approximately 2 years ago now, where we did a 6-month, and we've been measuring this every 6 months. And we wanted to know, we talk about, and I know you share a similar love, Apple products. You buy a computer, you get a high five, you get a little party as you walk out the store. How can we make sure every client that ever engages our service gets that high five moment at the end of it? And that sort of gave birth to this, what we're after is a finish line.
Okay. Just hold that thought, by the way, Brad, because the other thing too is that I was lucky enough to go do a bit of a tour of my favourite football club, the Hawks, down in Melbourne a few years ago. Yep. And the other thing that occurred to me, I went into the massage room, right, and one of the players was up on the table and he had the physio working on him. And I got talking to him. I said, and he was in a lot of pain. And I said, how often do you get this treatment? He goes, every day, every single day. Yep. And the other thing that occurred to me was that physio saying to me, come back next week or we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. Wouldn't the real truth around the solution be actually we need to see you twice a day for the next 6 days? For example?
Absolutely, Tim. Absolutely. And we share that. I mean, I share you as a practice, as a team, we share that. Why is it that we've operated on this session-to-session stayed approach that we tracked into the statistics around doesn't measure, it doesn't work. It gives 1 in 2 people at best the outcome that they actually wanted. And when we talk about outcomes, we talk about either getting out of pain, Tim, or getting back to your physical best. They're 2 different journeys. We use a little graph for this, and people get to choose your journey. Tim, if you just want the pain relief, let's give you that. That's how that looks. But you don't want to do the rehab. You don't want to do the exercise. Let's just get clear on your expectation and deliver what you want. If it's to go the full length and fully rehabilitate and address the reasons why you've got the problem, falling off the bike, we can't address that, but, then let's go into a different journey. But let's get clear from the outset what you want, first of all. And secondly, we recognise that 1 in 2 people get, an actual finish line result in the industry. So we need to do something different on that respect. And a big reason, I think, Tim, why only 1 in 2 people get that result, get that finish line under the session-to-session care approach is exactly what you just shared with your observation of the professional football player. If you've got an injury, you just want it sorted. You want to get out of pain and back to your physical best, whichever path you choose in. Why is it that as health professionals, we would give a prescription for you as you experience, Tim, come back at the end of the week or come back next week. Yet we know at our heart level with our skill set, if you were here the next day, you would get a markedly better outcome, a much quicker outcome, and you'd be raving about it. Yet we diagnose your hip pocket versus diagnosing your injury, and we make our prescription accordingly. And, we walk around here, I talk about family recommendations. Tim, what would you recommend your, physio A, B, what would you recommend your own mum? So your own mum, would you want her sitting around in pain for a week? No, you'd have her in the next day. And why don't we do that? Because we are aware that the service is, not a cheap service, and we always have thought in the past, what can the client afford versus what can they need? And they're worlds apart, Tim.
So in walks the Finish Line program of Pogo Physio. What is it?
Yeah, Timbo, the Finish Line programs, firstly, Finish Line's a philosophy. It's that philosophy that we share, that we want every client to get a high five moment, to get what they wanted to get done, and to not come back. We often say we love you, but we hope we don't see you soon unless you need us. We're here if you need us. So, the Finish Line, as a concept got birthed. I was out running one day. I often run, and funnily enough, I listen to podcasts as I run, but it sort of dawned on me that, geez, the personal training fitness industry has really been getting this right with their 12-week boot camps, etc. Would that ever fit inside our professional service environment? And I thought, I thought all the reasons why it wouldn't work, and not every injury is going to need 12 weeks, etc., etc. And I thought, what about a subscription model? We know that session to session isn't working. Even with our high standards as a practice, we're still giving people 1 in 2 of them exactly what they want. Would a subscription model work, where a client pays a fee for all access to all services in-house, all the different things we do for a set fee a month? And I thought, what? It's still not going to fix the problem of people dropping out before they truly achieve what they wanted to achieve. And that's when it sort of dawned. I'm like, we need an end date. We need a finish line, a date in the diary where people can run to that and know that at that point they can expect to have everything sorted if they've been doing their bit and we've been doing ours. So that was the birth of the Finish Line concept.
A little aha moment, Brad.
Well, I'm a runner, and I often think, why is it that at the end of a race, you come within the finish line and you find this extra gear, you find this extra burst of energy and commitment, and you lift it up a notch. But it's just the power of having an end date. It works in any walk of life, I feel. So we've really now used that, that in empowering our clients with results. They know when they're going to finish, and so let's get the job done.
So explain how it works. I come in, I gather I can still go into Pogo Physio and do what I've always done, which is I'll have a consult, 30 minutes later, see you next week or see you next month. Or I can go down the finish line program. Is that correct?
Correct, Tim. And so it all starts with, what's your diagnosis? So our industry typically, Tim, has 30-minute to 45-minute at a stretch initial appointments. So initial meaning your first time in the door. I've been bothered by that for a long time. And, if you want express medicine, then, beware that, you're probably going to misdiagnose things and, everything else. And I'm like, well, we can't. I mean, I feel like it takes me 10 minutes to get rapport with the client. And, how can we do that in half? How can we diagnose a condition, give them some love, give them some treatment, and have them feel like they're confident in what we're doing in 30 minutes? So we've got what we call Discover Recover. It's we talk about it being the gateway to our party. If you believe that we're the right physios for you and we're very clear on who our ideal clients are, then there is no other way to do this because you value your physical best performance. We need 60 minutes with you to start with and 60 minutes for your second session. And inside that, we come up with a diagnosis, so what it is. We look at why it's happened, so the contributing factors. We immediately start some treatment, set you up with, if necessary, some things to be doing proactively between that appointment and the next. And this is done on an exercise app that we use, so it's no longer stick figures on a bit of paper.
Yeah.
And you hear me, yeah. And the rest of Australia says amen too. But that happens across 2 1-hour sessions. That's our Discover Recover process. So across those two sessions.
Pause.
Okay,
There's so much to unpack there. What's interesting, and I'm looking at the Discover Recover page on your website, you've trademarked Discover Recover.
Correct.
Clever.
Yep.
You're packaging it up.
In our industry. Yep.
It's unique in your industry. There's so many learnings here, listeners, no matter what industry you're in. You have packaged it up into a step-by-step process. What is my injury? What caused it? How long is it going to take for it to get better? How much will it cost? These are all questions, and then you provide the treatment. So it's you've made the intangible very tangible, right?
Yep.
He says with a big sigh.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's Tim. If we're serious about what we do, can we afford not to? I mean, we're either here to get clients results or we're not. And these are the questions, as you said on the Discover Recover page of our website. They're the questions that we know our clients are asking.
Yeah.
So who are we to not answer them inside their first appointment with us? So we've built that into the experience.
So it's a 2-session first step.
Yep.
To the finish line program. Is that correct?
Correct, Timbo.
It's a 2-step process in the first part of the Discover Recover process as you head towards the finish line, correct?
Correct. And, we need to know what your diagnosis is. Diagnosis determines prognosis. So diagnosis is, what it is. Prognosis is how long. So not everyone's going to fit into where we're probably about to go, one of our finish line programs. So we still need to offer session-to-session care. And I can give examples as we go, Tim.
Does it allow you to charge a premium, Brad?
Well, I mean, premium's a subjective term.
Okay, let me rephrase it. Does it allow you to price your services higher than what you used to?
Absolutely. I mean, one, we're spending longer with a client. And we didn't just do this off a whim, Tim, and go, let's just create longer consults because we think it's going to be better for the client's outcome. We knew it would be, but we asked, our clients through some surveying and different things. And the funny thing was, Tim, one, would you like longer consults? Yes. Two, if we offered them, would you be happy to pay for them? What do you think the answer was?
No.
Yes. So it was a no-brainer for us. Yeah. Well, I mean, but it comes back to, how important is their problem for them to get solved. So yeah, we do charge more. because everything is lifted in terms of our standards, and we know what we can deliver with our results. So, and in terms of the industry average, Tim, it's worlds apart, but I think our results are worlds apart.
What am I paying for a Discover Recover session?
Yeah, Discover Recover, they're billed out at $175 for our Masters physios for the hour, which is still a cheap consult compared to going somewhere and getting a half an hour initial consult and then going back for a half an hour follow-up to get the same amount of work done, relative. And then the second one's billed at the same, so $175 for the second hour. That's still paid session to session. And I'm on a different fee structure. I mean, I'm running the business and niched out in different things. So my fees are $300 for the hour and $300 for the follow-up hour.
Okay. So we finish the Discover Recover 2 sessions. At that point, do you then say, hey, listen, Timbo, this is what we think it's going to take for you to reach your finish line, which you've identified with me. You put a price on it, and then I visit you as often as I want, or have I got it wrong?
No, it's very close, Tim. So we've diagnosed your injury. We know, well, it's a matter of marrying together what you've got and where you want to be, because you can have the same condition but have very different desires as the recipient of our service. So once we're very clear, and we're not talking about what do you want to get out of this, get out of pain. Well, of course, why is that important to you? And we try and plumb down 2 or 3 levels until we get that aha moment where our clients truly know that we've got why they're there, which I think in healthcare so often doesn't happen, often because of the time constraints. You know, you want to get better, of course. Let's just get that done. So, Tim, once we know what you want and what your condition is, we will recommend, based on what you're trying to get done, one of 4 finish line programs. And they are either session-to-session care, which is exactly like you've experienced our industry, Tim, over the years. That's, you know, we need that. If we've got someone with frozen shoulder, for example, a true authentic frozen shoulder, we could see you 3 times a day for 2 weeks. It's not going to move the needle forwards any quicker. There's a natural time course for that condition that it needs to run. It's sort of, unfortunately, 18 to 24 months. So you're not going to get value if you go onto a finish line program where you get unlimited access across that time frame. The other 3 options, Tim, are a 2-week fast track program, a 6-week complete recovery program, and a 12-week into performance program. And the into performance program is really what we want to be known for as Pogo. It's our hallmark program. It's about taking people from injury into a state of physical performance that they didn't know existed. So they're our four programs, Tim.
Each with a different price point, right?
Yeah, correct.
And each, except for the first one, visit by visit, but the others. What I'm finding interesting is that you're letting people visit you as much as they want to. Does that not open itself up to abuse?
Well, it could, right? But as the business owner and as a physio that's passionate about seeing our industry be known for what it can actually achieve for people, removed from the restraints of the session-to-session limitations, which we've discussed, I am happy to have a client come in and see. If they feel that they need to be seen, there's a reason for that. So as the health practitioner, I feel it's incumbent upon me to, even if it was me to sit the client down and say, you know, look, I'm hearing your concerns. This is the perspective of where we're going, where you're up to. This is our next step. Review in 2 days, 5 days, 1 day, whatever it might be. Isn't that a better conversation to have because we've got our doors wide open than you going over the fence to the neighbour and saying, hey, neighbour, my shoulder's not getting as better as quick as I thought it would. What do you reckon I do? And he, gives you an option, off you go. You change gears and spend more money and, you're back to square one. So yeah, there's an inherent risk there, Tim, but I don't really see it as a risk. I see it as an opportunity to actually provide the care that clients need.
How long has the Finish Line program been in effect, Brad?
Tim, we launched it July 2016. So we've now had the benefit of having 6 months of, or just over that really, 7 or 8 months of client success through the programs. And
what's been the biggest impact on the business in those 6 months?
The biggest impact on the business would be some of the virality, if you like, that it's starting to create we're on the Gold Coast, so we're at the moment geographically bound, in our reach, and we have clients travel great distances. That's a whole lot of, fun when people travel. I talk about loyalty as how many practices do they need to drive past to get to us. So, we're getting this virality. We're getting known for a different approach, Tim. And for me, that's just wonderful because I know that our approach is incredible results, and our clients are loving it. For example, a gentleman, a young musician who I saw, he's a talented musician. His band's just been signed by a record producing company, and he's off to the studio soon. He'd had all his school life, last part of his school life, Tim, his uni days, terrible back pain and sciatica. He'd had back surgery. His neurosurgeon referred him to see our practice, specifically me in this instance. And this gentleman is a young just finished uni, I think his car had done 300,000 Ks or something. He didn't have the finance readily there, but he could see that he was going to have to spend the money anyway. And he loved the idea of the 12-week into performance program, where we would take him from where he was to where he could truly be. So through some help with his parents, he invested in the 12-week program, which is a fee for, it's $2,995, and there's a bit more if people want specifically me involved. Yet he got far more in services access than he could ever have gotten otherwise. So he got far more in value than what he paid, which I was happy for. All we cared about was getting him a result. And this young guy went from not even being able to stand and play his guitar, and he's a lead guitarist, Tim. So you don't see too many lead guitarists sitting down. He
not a good look.
He went from that to running 15 Ks at the end of that 12 weeks with me. I ran in the race with him here on the Gold Coast. It's part of our program. We actually pay for our clients to have a physical experience, Tim, something that's out of their normal comfort. It's part of the Performance program. So for Tom, we identified early that he loves to run, yet he hasn't been able to run much for the last few years. We're like, right, let's set that. That's going to be our celebration event. And, I went and ran it with him. He had a great time and discovered a new level of performance that he never knew existed. So it's a good experience.
Love it. What do you mean you pay for your clients to have a physical experience?
Well, in the 12-week into performance program case, Tim, it's a transformation. It's about opening people's eyes to the fact that, you've had chronic low back pain or sciatica in Tom's case. Tom, do you know that it is possible if we and we use this in our finish line workbooks. Our clients have workbooks, so that, they have online access to stuff as well. Do you know that it's possible, Tom, to actually get on top of this through these mechanisms? If we do this work and if we approach your visitations as it needs to be versus coming every week, let's get intensive about this, that it's possible for you to do these things. And, people don't naturally, when they're in pain and they've had this legacy of this, it's hard for them to see that runway ahead of them. Yet when we take the time and we've got that ability to have the contact time with them and the regularity through the unlimited access fixed price methods, all of a sudden they start to buy into the idea and they experience it as they go. So it's like a metamorphosis to the point that, sometimes you got to put the cap on their activity because they're getting so excited.
Yeah, right. Yeah, love it. Oh, that's a great idea. Now, brilliant. You have differentiated yourself. You've challenged the conventions of the industry. You've differentiated yourself from everyone else in the industry. You have you've got a wonderful respect for marketing, Brad. You've been a long-time listener of this show. You've been a member of the Small Business Big Marketing Forum. I would argue that you're in the minority. What is it about marketing and setting yourself apart that you love?
Tim, I think when you're passionate about what you do and you truly believe in what you do and what you can offer the world, I just don't understand how you could not want to either develop skill set in marketing your product or service, or have a natural, interest in it. I mean, obviously we're all wired differently, but even if you not interested in it, I think it's incumbent that if you truly, your heart of hearts, believed in what you do, would you not want the world to know about it? And when I've thought about that, just from my own self-reflection, I mean, I'm a physio student at uni. I was creative at school, and I used to be the lead singer in a band, and I did I can't sing, Tim, but I could rap. I used to do the posters for our band, Power Pig. I'd run around the town and stick them up on the telegraph pole. So I look back and I go, I was always marketing things.
I've got to stop you. You got a short rap for us?
Oh, Tim. I think our signature song was Tennis Ball. Hey, stop rolling, baby little tennis ball. Hey, stop rolling, maybe we'll make you stand still. Hey, stop rolling, baby little tennis ball. What you going to do when the wind stops sloping and the hill stops rolling and you got to go home? That was as good as it got, Tim.
Busy, mate. I'm so glad you got to the fork in the road there was rapping, there was physio, and thank you for choosing physio. It's absolutely tremendous. But also thanks for rapping with us. Hey, I love that. What you said. What you said is like, you know, if you truly, truly believe in what you do, then how could you not want to tell the world about it? And obviously marketing is a great way of doing that. And maybe there's something in that for others listening that you don't truly, if marketing is eluding you, or successfully marketing yourself or your business is eluding you, then maybe you need to reassess what it is you're offering. And that doesn't mean shutting the business or starting again, but it does mean maybe just repositioning how you look at what you do and what you offer and what you're selling, and find an emotional entry point that helps you fall back in love with what you do. It's probably a good exercise to undertake.
I think that's, I mean, we had some rough years through our middle era where, you know, we were doing a journey in a model that wasn't us, it wasn't me, and, you know, through the franchise years. And they were rough years. They were bumpy years. They were years where I looked at myself and thought, wow, what am I doing this for? I really went deep with, you know, and it was like, no, I even thought, Tim, of walking away from the industry on numerous times.
Mate, you had rapping to fall back on.
I knew that. But, you know, I looked at it and I thought, well, there's got to be, I'm not finished. I can't walk away from, I've got to have one more crack at it. And so that's when I thought, we're going to do it differently, not because we just want to be different, but because it needs to be done differently. And, you know, it's given this obviously expression through our marketing and our, you know, currently what we do.
How low did it get in those years?
Oh, Tim, I mean, yeah, they were very bumpy years. I knew I was clinically depressed, Tim, when I walked out the back of the practice one day. And, you know, when you've got pride in what you do, you make sure the door's locked, right? I walked out the back one day and it was, you know, I'd done my patient load for the day early in the morning to sort of late in the early evening. And I walked out the back and I remember, I don't even think that, is the door locked? And I actually, for the first time I've ever can recall, didn't double check it. I went, I don't care if it's not locked. So they were rough years, Tim. Really, really tough times personally, different things. Our family, we were going through the journey of, giving our first child arriving and multiple miscarriages in that journey and things. So, mate, they were really tough years. So, you know, I look at anyone in business and I know you're going to have those roller coaster, you know, times. And I just always have admired, you know, that's why I've really resonated with your message, that the small business owners that keep rolling their sleeves up and, you know, keep showing up. So, yeah, it's going to be pretty tough at times. Yeah,
thanks for sharing that, mate. It's, you know, we all hit tough times, and there'll be owners listening right now who are wondering why am I doing what I'm doing? But, you know, it doesn't mean you always have to keep going. But every successful business owner that I've spoken to on this show, of course, hits a rough time. I mean, you're the runner, mate. You're the guy who does marathons. I guess it depends what you do when you arrive at that wall, right?
Yeah, I mean, you either reinvent yourself or I guess you transition into something else. I mean, I was thinking I'm going to go into real estate. I like people, you know. Yeah, maybe I'll be a good real estate agent. The ones that seem to do well are the ones.
Real estate's such a fallback position. How many people must just go, oh, look, I don't know. I'm just going to become a real estate agent. I reckon that's just a common phrase that many. I've said it to myself at a point in time. It was yesterday, I think. No, that's not true. Hey, so tell me one thing. I've got 5 quickies before we wrap things up, Brad, but I do want to ask you, you do a lot of content creation. You've got your own podcast for runners. So you're building your personal brand and the Pogo Physio brand, which I think is very clever. But what's the best marketing you do to generate inquiry for your business?
Getting people a finish line result, Tim.
Yeah. There you go. The best marketing is a great product.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just giving people what they want to get out of it. It's really not too hard. I mean, I can tell you about all the tricks and different things. You go.
Unpacking that, getting someone a great result, so they walk out at their end at the finish line going, my God, my frozen shoulder is fixed, or my whatever ache and pain I came in with, it's finished. Do you then sit back and confidently rely on them telling others?
No.
Or do you actively ask them to?
Look, we don't leave anything to chance, only the reason being their results too important just to leave things to chance. So there's a whole engineered experience from discover, recover through to the finish line, including for the 2, 6 and 12 week programs, a concierge type service, an SMS buddy that people have access to and different things. So nothing's left to chance. In terms of that finish line being arrived at, we're talking about this weeks out, okay, we're coming up to it, etc. Are you happy with your progress? Are you happy with your progress? Being proactive with making sure they're on track for it. When they hit that line, we have a little celebration and, different ways we do that. And, there's a built-in, campaign we have with each of the programs for people via email. So, we do some surprise and delight things at that moment, all our clients, and I won't share the surprise in case anyone experiences it with us, but
no one's listening, Brad. Just tell us what it is.
It's a simple way to start, but we have, a card that's got a cool message on it with some movie tickets that go out. And then, we have a nurture sequence where, hey, did you know it's 6 months since you crossed your finish line and a year, and some little electronic vouchers and different things that accompany that. So we always want to, give people tools to spread the word.
So just to understand that, all those things that you do form what I would argue is a great customer experience for the customer, for the patient in your case.
Yep.
Are you then relying on them talking about it to others still, or is there a point where you say, "Hey, listen"? Because I had a dentist on years ago. What was his name?
Lund,
Paddy Lund.
Yep.
Now a bit of a different story. Although what he did do was he closed the doors of his practice basically, and he wanted to keep going, but he just said to his 25% of his favourite patients, "Here's my business card. Give it to 2 people just like you." And that was how he built his business again from the ground up, by just getting great patients that he wanted to work with. So he actively did that. Do you actively do that with your clients?
Yeah, we have little referral cards. So we do. Every client, typically around the 3rd session, gets a little booklet with 2 little referral cards in there and a little gift for the referrer and the referee. That's
Gotcha.
the lifeblood of any small business, I think, and particularly a service business. I'm less excited about having, massive numbers of new clients through our door. I mean, we experience that. I'm more excited about what percentage of finish line results did we achieve for our clients over that 6-month period.
Yeah,
that's
right.
That's our guiding light. That's our North Star. So, it doesn't. Our reputation is too important to not give people what they want.
Now, Brad, I always like to finish with 5 quickies. Are you ready?
Yes.
Do you accept the challenge?
I love a challenge.
How did you ask for your wife's hand in marriage?
Oh, Tim, how long we got? There was a foiled attempt, and then there was the real attempt.
Oh,
the
really?
foiled attempt, it's quite a story, but I'll keep it short. But to answer your question, I organised a gondola or little boat down the river of Noosa. We're on the Gold Coast, and it was in the evening, and at the restaurant, I told them I wanted a good seat at the table, and good table, and that I'm going to propose that night. And they got the message wrong, and one of the serving staff came out and said, "So have you asked yet?"
Oh, no.
and I just really fell off the chair, and I was hoping Christina, my wife, didn't pick up on it. I'm sure she did. Anyway, we were trying to get out of there. We finally got in this little boat and driving up the river, and I could just see the floodlights of Noosa in advance of us, and I knew that I had between where I was and there to get the job done. So I got down on the knee, and the rest is history. But the foil attempt, I'd asked Christina's mother if everything was okay. I'd called her father, who lives in Portugal, and we went for a weekend prior to this attempt, and I wanted it perfect, and I just wasn't going to work. I'm like, it's got to be better than this. But what I didn't know was on the way back in the car, Christina's mum would phone and say, "So, honey, have you got anything to tell me?" And she'd be getting text messages from all of her mum's friends saying, "You must be the happiest girl by now." So, Tim, it was very awkward. It's funny that you ask, but I got the job done, and I married way above my pay grade.
There you go. What's your guilty pleasure?
Guilty pleasure, mate? I mean, running for me is I'm a fairly energetic type of personality. So if I don't run, I'm a different person. So I've got to put my shoes on and head out for a run and listen to a good podcast.
Good on you. The Small Business Big Marketing Show, clearly. What's the strangest thing you've seen whilst out running?
I just had this conversation with a patient. He volunteered some interesting things that wouldn't make this edit. But, Tim, you see them all. I mean, I've seen things in bushes along the parks of the Gold Coast that I wish I didn't see. I'd probably leave it at that.
Oh, don't. Now you've got us all wondering. What are you too afraid to try?
I mean, professionally,
No.
nothing.
No,
there's nothing professionally. Personally, what am I too afraid to try? You know what? It's funny. I've got two beautiful girls. One's 3.5, one's 6 months. And one of my clients is a skydive instructor. I did it for my 21st, and he's like recently, when are you going to come again, Brad? And I'm like, sorry to burst your bubble, Jeff, but mate, I'm a dad of two girls, and yeah, I'd get a thrill out of it, but the risk versus reward, even though it's small. So, mate, I'd have to say I wouldn't jump out of a plane again, not while I got my two girls.
What is it about you high-performing athletes that means you can only have girls? It's a common thing, isn't it? A lot of I know AFL footballers have lots of girls. Something in the chromosomes or something?
There is. I think it's a sex hormone thing, Tim. There is something to it.
Right.
My wife, she's in medicine. She could explain it.
There you go. Last quickie, Brad, is right. What song is at the top of your motivational playlist?
Oh, mate, through my band years at school, the Red Hot Chili Peppers were a major influence. So, the Chili Peppers, but if I looked at my phone now, it would be the Trolls songs, because my 3.5-year-old just loves the Trolls movie. So it's Justin Timberlake and a couple of his colleagues.
Oh, I love it. I was hoping for something out of Flashdance or, an 80s big hair band. Bit of the Jove, bit of Bon Jovi, not to be.
I have listened to Bon Jovi for a marathon before.
I bet you have. Hey, mate, thanks, Brad. Thanks for taking us inside Pogo Physio and to the Finish Line program, because I love, and I know my listeners love, hearing a business that's doing things differently, not just for the sake of it, but because the industry demands it and it's just a better way for everyone. So well done, buddy.
Oh, thanks, Tim. And certainly one of the podcasts I have listened to over the years has been SBBM, Small Business Big Marketing. So, mate, it's great to feel like our business has arrived at a stage that's worthy to share with your listeners.
Good on you, mate. Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, Timbo.
There you go, team. Brad Beer of Pogo Physio. Check them out, pogophysio.com.au. Coming up, I share my top 3 attention grabbers from that fireside chat with Brad. Plus, I've got another low-cost marketing idea for you. But first, I'd like to give you an insight into how you can create more freedom in your business and personal life. Do you find yourself spending way too much time working in your business? Spending precious time on tasks that, as a business owner, you really should be getting others to do? Or maybe you find yourself paying way above the odds to get these tasks done. Things like data entry, inbound and outbound calling, social media, website and diary management, all those things that just take up time. Well, it doesn't have to be that way. The sooner you offload this work and expense, the sooner you can focus on building that beautiful business of yours into the empire it deserves to be. And that's where Cornerstone steps in. Cornerstone is an Aussie-owned and run company based in the Philippines and are specialists in finding you full-time virtual assistants from as little as $8 an hour. The freedom this will create for you is unbelievable. As a Cornerstone client, Anna Davies said of her virtual assistant, and I quote, "He's incredibly pleasant to work with. Having him in the team is excellent. I can't imagine how our lives were without him." End quote. So go ahead and book a no-obligation discovery call with Cornerstone today by calling 02 9083 6689 or visit cornerstonebusinesssolutions.com.au. I believe in them so much, I own part of the business. Righto, top 3 attention grabbers from my chat with Brad Beer of Pogo Physio. Number 1, every client gets a high five program. I love that. Now, if you don't offer programs in your business, don't worry. Most businesses don't. At least have a think about creating a high five moment for each and every client of yours. Attention grabber number 2, I love Brad's definition of loyalty as being, and I quote, how many other physio practices a patient has to drive past in order to get to his, end quote. I love that. How do you define loyalty in your business? And attention grabber number 3, Brad's respect for marketing and his belief that if you truly love and believe in what you sell, then how could you not want to tell the rest of the world about it? Hey? Love that. What grabs your attention? Head over to the show notes at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/350 and let me know your thoughts.
What have you got to lose?
It's time for one simple yet effective marketing idea that you can implement immediately. One that's not going to cost a fortune, might just generate you more awareness, more inquiry, and ultimately more sales. Today's idea is to host a VIP event. When was the last time you held a live event for your clients? You know, living in such a virtual world these days, it may have well been quite some time ago. Well, once in a while, it's worth hosting an event in the physical world in an effort to get the word out about your business and connect with more leads. The VIP event is a strategy that can be particularly useful if you're launching something new, have some groundbreaking news to share with your tribe, or you simply want to bring people together for some fun and networking. Imagine that, fun in business. How dare we? These types of events are also a great way to create some social buzz about your company in the weeks leading up to your event and on the night of the event itself. So here's my 3 steps to creating an unforgettable VIP event. Step 1, get clear on what kind of event you want to host and what your goals are. Do you want to network with more people in your industry? Do you want to build a new list of qualified leads? Do you want to get feedback on your products or services? Or do you simply want to throw a party for your best and most loyal customers? Nothing wrong with that. Step 2, outline what you want to happen at the event, who you want to invite, and when and where it will happen. Set a budget for your event and start working on the logistics. Step 3, break the rules. You know, I think too many business events are held, here we go, in boring venues, serving boring food, if I see another fried wonton, and stick to a boring running sheet. So, challenge what businesses in your industry do by selecting a venue, menu, and order of proceedings that will have your guests talking for weeks to come. For all the right reasons, of course. And here's my pro tip. If event planning isn't your thing and cash flow allows, then bring in a professional to organise the whole event. You know, like Frank the wedding planner from, Father of the Bride. Love that character. That way you can focus on working the room and having some fun. As always, there'll be links in the show notes to any resources over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/350, including a link to a blog post on 42 event planning tips for small business. And if you'd like help implementing any of the ideas I share in this segment, go ahead and join the Small Business Big Marketing Club over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com, where I will personally support you daily on your marketing journey. So, what have you got to lose? Well, that almost wraps up another episode of the Small Business Big Marketing Show. But don't worry, plenty of marketing gold coming your way in the weeks ahead. Next week, it's just you and I. Yeah, we're going to have a little chin wag about podcasting, and I'm going to answer every question that you've got on your mind about this wonderful medium. Hey, do you remember that interview I did with email marketing expert Shane Tilley a few years ago? Here he is explaining why so many businesses get email marketing wrong.
I I think because a lot of it on the surface looks very hard and feels very hard, and there's a little, I guess, mountain to climb. I'll call it a small mountain, but there's a little work to be done up front to get yourself a hill. We'll call it a mogul, just to get yourself set up properly. And once you do that, then the rest just becomes so much easier. And I think once businesses get over that initial little hill, then the downward side of that just can continue to pay off for a long, long time.
Shane goes on to share a very clear process for creating an email marketing strategy that actually generates sales, which you can listen to over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com, or, you know what I'd love you to do? Subscribe on iTunes. It's free. Helps my rankings. Boosts my ego. Hey, I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to email me, tim@timreid, reid.com.au. Say hi, send me a comment, bit of feedback, or you can hit me up on Twitter @TimboReid. Be sure to check out Cornerstone if the idea of a virtual assistant excites the hell out of you, and it should. You'll find them at cornerstonebusinesssolutions.com.au, or you can call them on 02 9083 6689. Hey, if you love this show, pay it forward by sharing it with 1, 2, maybe 10 other small business owners. Until next week, I'm Timbo Reid. Thanks for listening to the Small Business Big Marketing Show. May your marketing be the best marketing. Bye for now.